Republicans are currently at battle with one another over Donald Trump's tariffs, which are wrecking the U.S. economy, crashing the markets, and causing the globe to collapse. Let me show you what's happening. So Mike Pence, the former vice president, referred to the Spoiling America's Golden Age fact sheet in an organization he is affiliated with called American Freedom, where Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, the new sham, claims that the Trump tariff tax is the largest peacetime tax hike in U.S. history. These tariffs are nearly 10 times the size of those imposed during the Trump-Pence administration and will cost American families over $3,500 annually. Our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, adds, "Oh, I guess they're going with the traitor Mike Pence angle again." The economic tank person claims that Mike Pence is simply resentful and that these tariffs represent the definition of America first, a notion that he doesn't get. Mike Pence then shares a video of his group criticizing Trump's tariffs ahead of the Liberation Day event. In the video, Pence discusses how the Trump tariffs will affect all of the goods you purchase and how much more they will cost. He also includes a graphic stating that the Trump tariff tax is the largest peacetime tax in U.S. history. What do you suppose MAGA, a Republican senator from Ohio named Bernie Moreno, does on CNN? He attacks Mike Pence, saying that he's not a businessman and is simply repeating talking points. He's just the lefty that liberal Mike Pence, that extreme leftist, watches. Senator Bernie Moreno, a member of the MAGA Republican Party, now has to be a psychopath to be a member of the party. Like this clip played by Bernie Moreno.
No offense to Mike Pence, he's never run anything other than a political campaign. This is not a business guy. So he's repeating talking points.
He was the vice president.
Yeah, but he never ran a business. So he has no idea what any of this is about. He's never been in the private sector. You know, these career politicians are part of the problem here in D.C. because they actually don't know what it's like to actually understand how businesses work. And what President Trump is doing is reversing the policies of people like Mike Pence, who sold this country out, that over decades gutted our industrial sector, shipped our jobs overseas. Cities like Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, Toledo, Youngstown, these were thriving cities that produced a lot of goods. Look,
why do you hold Pence responsible for that, though?
Because he's just that group of politicians that were both Republicans and Democrats. It's not, again, him personally. It's just that group of politicians.
Check out this video of some MAGA Republicans on the Hill reacting to the Trump tariffs. Other senators and members of Congress were unsure of how to respond and were bewildered, perplexed, angry, and afraid. Play this video.
Anyone who says there may be a little bit of pain before we get things right need to talk about farmers who are one crop away from bankruptcy. They don't have time, so we've got to be crisp on this implementation. Otherwise, we could do damage that's irreparable to farmers.
As the president has admitted, tariffs will create pain for some businesses, and I think Wisconsin will be particularly hard hit with all the manufacturing and agricultural interests. He's used tariffs in the past effectively to get nations to do what they should have done anyway. Right now, we're giving the benefit of the doubt, but I'm concerned.
We've already heard from some of our beef processors, popcorn exporters, that they're losing some market share in Europe, so it is concerning. And but I'm all for fair trade, reciprocal tariffs. I think in the end, a trade war doesn't help anybody.
As Aaron Ferner notes, yesterday there was a vote that was started by Democrats to stop Trump's tariffs on Canada, but only 4 Republicans joined. It was stopped by declaring a phony emergency on the Canada Act. However, Tom Tillis, the senator from North Carolina that you saw there, refused to stop the tariffs against Canada, stating that Mike Pence is the biggest phony in the world and that 69% of Americans believe that tariffs on imports will increase the cost of the goods you purchase. Fox conducted a survey to see whether tariffs will increase or decrease prices. Only 7% of respondents claimed it was less expensive, compared to 69 to 70% who said it was more expensive. You know, I refer to these MAGA Republicans as psychopaths, or whatever term I can think of to characterize malignant narcissists, sociopaths, and fools. Don't do the name-calling, don't do the I don't know what else to do thing when they continue, and they know that the economy is collapsing, the markets are collapsing, People's 400 and ONUCs are being destroyed, pensions are being obliterated, and while Doge, Elon, and Trump are attacking your Social Security and Medicaid, while they're sending migrants to concentration camps in El Salvador without following the proper procedures, they're out there thinking that the stock market will be extremely high and doing very well. I mean, just stop these sociopathic behaviors, gaslighting, and lying. Republican people play this clip.
I think the stock market is going to majorly correct upwards because when you pump $6 trillion of investment, that's only what's been announced so far. I think the stock market's going to go very, very high because you're investing.
Yes, and look at Gore Capital, a right-leaning, right-wing account. They were, in my opinion, Trumpy. The overall weighted average of the Trump tariffs is 29%, the highest in over a century. This is larger than Smoot-Hawley, which caused the Great Depression. We know where this is going, and we see that the markets are collapsing, but then Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent appears on CNN and is asked by Caitlin Collins if the price is going to rise. He responds with that haughty expression, saying, "I don't know. I mean, maybe it'll go up. I don't know. Maybe I don't."
That's the president's ambitious agenda, but on the argument of short-term pain, long-term gain, which seems what you're arguing about the long-term, what this will look like, prices will go up for Americans in the short term, right?
They could. They don't have to.
And that's if they don't have to. You're arguing if businesses do not pass those on to those consumers.
Well, in the President Trump's first administration, prices didn't go up, so the businesses don't have to pass them on, or the producers in the other countries can eat the tariffs, and traditionally the dollar adjusts. So it's a very complicated calculus to see where we end up.
Yeah, and of course, these are much broader than the ones in the first term. The president was making the argument in the Rose Garden about what economists predicted then and what this looks like.
Collins then asks him if he expects the conversation to have any negative effects on the stock market. "The hell are you doing? What is that? What is that?" One of their lines is, "When you remodel your home or your kitchen, no, most people don't know because they can't afford homes, you morons." Play the clip. I don't know.
That's why you've been having a lot of conversations with Republican lawmakers. But before I get to that in a moment, we're seeing international markets start to respond to the president's announcements. Obviously, the markets in the United States are already closed. What do you expect the stock market to look like when it opens tomorrow in reaction to this?
I don't know. I don't know where it's going to trade open tomorrow. I don't know where it's going to close tomorrow. And I think what's going to be important are the underlying economic fundamentals, because at the end of the day, Warren Buffett says in the short run, the market's a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine.
Oh, he's coming. Sham wow, it's a sham. It's also like a chamois. Whoa, that's a weird illusion if you know what I'm talking about. Howard Letnick is shown here. The Commerce Secretary for Donald Trump has returned and is discussing McDonald's French fries on Fox. Play this video.
Plans for conversations or a trip to Beijing?
Nothing imminent.
When it comes to this negotiation, April 9th, these tariffs come in place. Do you plan on having negotiations before that date?
Again, I'm not part of the negotiations, so we'll see. I am sure that there are going to be a lot of calls. I just don't know if there are going to be negotiations.
The president had this huge chart showing all of the different rates. Canada and Mexico notably missing on that chart. Why is that?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay, I imagine that has to do potentially because they're already in negotiations previously with the 25%.
I'm being sarcastic, but I don't know how any of this works. What are you doing? What is your job? And that one more clip here of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying he's not involved in any of the negotiations around these tariffs. It's good to know that the Treasury Secretary has no idea about these tariffs, doesn't know how the formula is calculated, and doesn't know normal stuff for Treasury secretaries. Play this video.
At first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is First, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
Oh, by the way, Pence then uploaded this Ronald Reagan video here. His remarks, which are still relevant today, that high tariffs cause retaliation and eventually put the burden on American consumers, are from the former president. Make sure to watch this tape.
We're getting behind this. Well, one, we should not live under emergency rule. The Constitution said taxes are raised by Congress. Most specifically, taxes originate in the House and come to the Senate. So I'm against emergency rule. But on the tariffs in particular, on the idea of trade, trade is proportional to wealth. The last 70 years of international trade has been an exponential curve upwards, and the last 70 years of prosperity has been upwards also. We are richer because of trade with Canada, and so is Canada. Whenever you trade with somebody, when an individual buys somebody else's product, it's mutually beneficial or you wouldn't buy it. If the trade is voluntary, it's always beneficial. There is no Canada versus the U.S. The consumer wins when the price is the lowest price. Tariffs raise prices and they're a bad idea for the economy.
And don't worry, I'm not out here gushing about Ronald Reagan. I believe that his economic policies are what gave rise to all of this nonsense. So let me be clear. I'm not trying to paint Reagan in a positive light. Instead, I'm demonstrating to you that they all do the Reagan said, hey, here's grand. The Republicans call him this Reagan. Well, that's what Reagan said. You fool, stop calling names. I would play this tape and imagine that Tim Kaine, a Democrat from Virginia, and Paul MAGA, a Republican from Kentucky, are standing next to each other. That's an unusual couple.
Tariffs have also led to political decimation. When McKinley most famously put tariffs on in 1890, they lost 50% of their seats in the next election. When Hott Smolley put on their tariff in the early 1930s, we lost the House and the Senate for 60 years. So they're not only bad economically, they're bad politically.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know